What's going on, guys? B. Scott Richard on today's show. We got your AFC South prediction recap. Every single year before the season starts, I go and give out my predictions on how these teams will finish heading into the 2021 NFL season. So now let's recap it. Let's go over the AFC South and look at my mistakes and what I did, what I got right and what I got wrong. So keep it locked and loaded right here at the first four downs. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. As I mentioned in the preview, we're going through the AFC South today. We're going to be looking at just the outlook heading into the offseason and where these teams could potentially head, in what directions they're going. And based on the predictions that I gave prior to the NFL season, we'll go through them and see what I got right and what I got wrong. So before we get to today's content, don't forget, like the video, subscribe, share, thumb bell, and then comment. You want to hear anything about any of these AFC South teams, ask me any questions, anything related heading into next season and honestly into the playoffs, what you guys think. So drop that in the comment section. I'll be glad to give you, my opinions on the AFC South. So let's start at the top. So first off, I had the Indianapolis Colts winning the division at 12-5. What happened? They finished 9-8. And honestly, Carson Wentz let down. Early on, I knew that they could struggle coming out the gate. They had a tough strength of schedule, but I thought the offensive line was great. I thought Jonathan Taylor was really going to carry a load, and Michael Pittman played very well throughout the season, but Carson Wentz was really spotty, hit and miss, and honestly down the back stretch of the season, lost a couple key pivotal games that really cost him, and he couldn't get it done against Tennessee Titans. So honestly, they missed the playoffs, and they still finished 9-8, above 500. They still are a pretty good football team, in my opinion, but the defense didn't play as strongly as it did the prior season, and like I mentioned, Carson Wentz just let down here. So heading into the next season, Carson Wentz more than likely going to be under center once again. What could you say? He's got to play better. They could add another weapon on the outside. T.Y. Hilton is just looked old, plain and simple. He is old, and they need a couple younger receivers. Paris Campbell, he can't stay healthy and stay on the field. Michael Pittman, a great, honestly, wide receiver one. And they got some tight end work with Mo Alley-Cox and Jack Doyle, and you know what Jonathan Taylor is going to bring you. So, honestly, they just add a couple weapons on offense, in my opinion. And the defense, I think, is good. I think down the stretch, it really faltered, and, COVID riddled some of them in some of the key vital games for them to get into the playoffs. But all in all, I'm still happy with where the Colts finished and my prediction on them. I thought they would win the division, and it was close, but they couldn't get over the Tennessee Titans. So, on to the next team, the Tennessee Titans. I had them at 8-9. I had these teams flip-flop. Well, they finished 12-5. And really, they got it done with Ryan Tannehill playing subpar most of the year, the defense being middle of the pack at best. They got a good pass rush, but the secondary was bad most of the season. And they lost Derrick Henry down the backstretch. I really just applaud the coaching staff. Mike Vrabel did a great job this year. Really took it to a lot of these good teams. They did lose a couple snoozers. I can't believe they had a couple losses when they did. But they got it done. They held on to the number one seed. I'm not surprised here. Like I said, I thought they'd be around a 500 team. Julio Jones could not stay healthy. A.J. Brown couldn't stay healthy, and they still overcame a lot of those key pivotal injuries, especially on offense, to win football games. So, hey, the Tennessee Titans, they're the number one seed. They're getting the bye, which is good. They're going to get Derrick Henry back. Hopefully, he's up to par and up to speed and be able to help them in their playoff push this year. I'm not so sure if they're a Super Bowl caliber team, just because I don't know if I can trust Ryan Tannehill. I mean, down the backstretch the last couple weeks, he's played okay, but their weapons are going to be healthy. It's going to be hard to play the Tennessee Titans. They're going to be a tough out regardless of any team facing them, and maybe they make it to the Super Bowl this year. I don't know. I think in the future, they really need help on the secondary. They lost some key pieces. Farley, their young corner that they drafted, torn ACL, I think, was the injury. He was out for the season, so that hurt the secondary, especially early on. So if they can work on that secondary a little bit and bolster that, Mike Vrabel's a great coach. So the Tennessee Titans are going to be right there every single year in and year out. I wasn't necessarily wrong on them, but, they obviously won the division, and they won it handily, especially over a Colts team that just disappointed. So now we look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I had the Jaguars at 3-14, and that's where they finished, 3-14. And they didn't even make it through the full season with Urban Meyer under the head coach, so they're going to need a new coach. Trevor Lawrence, I think, has shown flashes of greatness for being the number one pick, but he's got a lot of development to work on. He doesn't have a lot of weapons around him. James Robinson was highly underutilized much of the season. Then he gets hurt, and he was out, tore his Achilles. And then you got Travis Etienne. He will be back, coming off of that Liz Frank injury, which honestly, Liz Frank typically takes 2 full years to recover fully from. So don't get me wrong, Etienne, I think, could, manage his way back on the field next season, but I don't know how explosive it'll be. And honestly, there's always a chance of aggravating another injury based on adjusting, especially to a Liz Frank injury to the foot. But they need some weapons on the outside. On the offensive side of the football, they just do. Marvin Jones Jr., DJ Chark, I don't know if he'll be back or not. Laviska Shenault, these guys just aren't getting it done on the outside for offensive weapons. And the defense needs help a little bit in the secondary. Their pass rush is young, but they still need help. So I think Jacksonville Jaguars, heading into next season, I think they might be able to string together a couple more wins. It really depends on what the head coach does and who they bring in my opinion. But I still don't see them as a 500 team just yet, even with Trevor Lawrence, unless they make some big splashes. And then we could talk about the Houston Texans. Now, I had the Houston Texans at 2-15 heading into the season. I didn't think they were going to win a football game. There was a chance they didn't. And honestly, with the old veterans, they played hard. They got it done. They won 4 games. Honestly, their biggest win coming against the Los Angeles Chargers just a few weeks ago. Rex Burkhead getting it done down the backstretch. And Rex Burkhead and David Johnson, they let Phillip Lindsay go. Brandon Cooks was great on the season. Once again, you know what you're going to get with Brandon Cooks, 1,000 yards and 6 to 8 touchdowns. It's set it and forget it for Brandon Cooks, and that's what he did. They got a couple young stars at wide receiver. Nico Collins was pretty good, and, they had a couple guys that just fit in well. Davis Mills played very well at home and poor on the road. Now, can they develop Davis Mills? Are they in the market for a quarterback? Obviously, the Deshaun Watson news, he's more than likely going to be moved. He's not going to play for the Houston Texans. So, do they build around Davis Mills at this point, or do they move on and look for something else? I personally think Davis Mills is a manageable, serviceable quarterback in the NFL, and I think if they built around him, they could win 6 to 8 games next season. The defense played hard, and much like the Detroit Lions, in which they didn't put together the greatest roster on the field to win a lot of football games, but they played hard and they won some games. So hey, I give them credit. I had them at 2-15 and potentially not even winning football games, to where they won 4 games. And honestly, we're close in a lot of other games as well. So early on in the season, they did struggle. Tyrod Taylor missed, and I think that actually helped their development of Davis Mills and seeing what they got in Davis Mills. So heading into next season, I wouldn't be surprised if they look to build around Davis Mills, bring in some offensive weapons on the outside, and work on building up the defense. Honestly, this division is not super tough. I get it. The Tennessee Titans, Mike Vrabel, great coach. They got a lot of great weapons. And then the Indianapolis Colts have a great rounded team and a great offensive line as well. So it's going to be hard to compete a little bit, but I don't think they're too far off for the Houston Texans, in my opinion. They do need some playmakers, that's for sure. So that's it. That's my breakdown for this season, after the season of the AFC South. My predictions early on to where they finish now. Honestly, the AFC South, I'm pretty happy with my predictions. I was pretty close on a lot of these teams. A couple of the divisions you'll see later on, not so much. But anyway, that's the AFC South breakdown. So you have any questions at all about any of these teams, any comments you want to mention, your favorite team, you want to talk about it, drop in the comment section. I'll be glad to talk to you and give you my opinions on these teams. And obviously into the offseason with whatever they do, we could talk about it. So for the first 4 downs, it's been B. Scott, and I'm out.